John Smith, a run-of-the-mill accountant, was seeking a sliver of tranquility amidst the hustle and bustle of New York City life. One day, in an antique shop in Brooklyn, he stumbled upon an ancient mirror, its frame adorned with exquisite carvings, exuding a mysterious aura. Captivated by its beauty, John decided to take it home as a decorative piece for his living room. He imagined it might add a touch of variety to his mundane life. Little did he know, the mirror would bring changes to his life beyond his wildest expectations. At first, John merely saw the mirror as a regular piece of home decor. However, over time, he began to notice some unusual phenomena. Whenever he stood in front of the mirror, he found that the reflection seemed to have a slight delay, its movements and expressions not entirely in sync with his own. Initially, John thought it might be a trick of the light or his own illusion, but the situation gradually became too conspicuous to ignore. Once, as he was adjusting his tie in the mirror before heading out, he noticed that his reflection smiled, although he hadn't. This sent a shiver down John's spine, and he began to suspect the mirror might possess some peculiar power. In the following days, similar incidents occurred more frequently. The reflected John sometimes moved ahead of the real one, and at times, it seemed to gaze at him, its eyes brimming with depth and mystery. Day by day, the abnormal phenomena in the mirror started to affect John's daily life. He frequently had nightmares, in which he was trapped inside a gigantic mirror, unable to escape. During the day, he began to avoid eye contact with the mirror and even contemplated removing it. But every time the thought crossed his mind, he felt a force from within the mirror tugging at him, preventing him from taking action. John's friends started to notice his odd behavior, but he didn't mention the mirror to anyone. He feared they would think he had lost his mind. However, deep down, John knew he had to uncover the truth behind the mirror. As time passed, John grew increasingly uneasy. One night, something even more incredible happened. While brushing his teeth in front of the mirror, he noticed his reflection suddenly stop brushing and just stare at him, eyes flickering with a profound and indecipherable emotion. A chill ran down John's spine, and his toothbrush nearly fell from his hand. He stared intently at his reflection, which began to slowly smile and then made a gesture, as if warning him of something about to happen. In that moment, John's heart pounded wildly, engulfed in an indescribable fear. His reflection seemed to possess its own consciousness, no longer just a simple mirror image. He tried to communicate with his mirrored self, but no matter how he moved or spoke, the person in the mirror seemed to be on a different timeline, completely out of sync. John began to suspect that this mirror was more than just an antique. It was a mysterious object harboring some unknown power. He attempted to trace the mirror's origins, but the antique shop owner knew nothing. His online searches also turned up empty. Nighttime became a nightmare for John. Whenever he was alone, he felt as if eyes from the mirror were watching him. One night, John dreamt he was trapped inside the mirror, while the world outside was undergoing catastrophic changes. He struggled in the dream, trying to escape, but found himself immovable. When he woke up, he was drenched in cold sweat. This dream left him with an unprecedented sense of despair, and he realized he had to take action, to no longer let the mirror control his life. John's investigation hit a dead end. He scoured the internet for any relevant information, but aside from learning that the mirror's original owner was a mysterious 19th century painter, he found no useful clues. The painter's legend was shrouded in mystery, but there were no specific details explaining the mirror's strange phenomena. John's anxiety and unease intensified. His friends and colleagues noticed his increasingly bizarre behavior. They tried to ask and help, but John avoided discussing the mirror, fearing others would doubt his sanity. One evening, as he gazed into the mirror again, John suddenly realized that this mirror might be more than just a tool for reflecting physical images. It could be a medium connected to a power he couldn't comprehend. This thought both frightened and fascinated him. He decided to conduct an experiment. He would try to communicate with his reflection to see if he could get any response or message. Standing in front of the mirror, John took a deep breath and attempted to converse with his mirrored self. At first, there was no response. But when he mentioned the name of the mysterious painter, his reflection in the mirror suddenly moved, as if listening intently. A chill crept up his spine as he realized he might be communicating with an entity he couldn't fully understand. This realization panicked him, but also fueled his determination to delve deeper. John's fear and curiosity peaked. After a series of sleepless nights and deep introspection, he decided he had to put an end to it all. One night, determined to destroy the mirror and sever the connection to this mysterious world, he picked up a hammer and stood in front of the mirror, taking a deep breath. Just as he raised the hammer, his reflection suddenly gestured for him to stop. John hesitated but realized he could no longer endure the mental torment. With a forceful swing, he shattered the mirror, and a deep sense of relief followed as the fragments flew. The moment the mirror broke, John felt an odd tranquility. There were no more reflections in the shards, just the empty wall. He felt a huge burden lift from his shoulders, as if the mysterious force that had been troubling him had dissipated with the mirror's fragments. However, in this relief, John also felt a twinge of unease. At the moment the mirror shattered, he thought he saw a fleeting strange light, perhaps an illusion or maybe the last burst of energy from the mirror. Whatever it was, John knew his life would never be the same again. He had freed himself from the mirror's hold, but the experience had forever changed his perception of the world. After the mirror's destruction, John's life gradually returned to normal. But deep inside, a mark remained. The mirror had brought not only fear and chaos, but also a profound awareness of the unknown. He began to cherish his everyday life more, while maintaining a sense of awe towards things that can't be explained by science. Though the mirror no longer existed, the mental upheaval and contemplation it left in John would stay with him forever. He realized that in this world, there are always mysterious forces beyond human comprehension. This experience had grown him in many ways and altered his worldview.